Um, so my name is Sam. So today I'm going to talk about the software developer career path in Hong Kong and overseas. So let's start with a little bit self-introduction. So who is Sam? So I was graduated from the Bachelor Computer Engineering from the EE department in CityU in year 2006. So I first found a job as a programmer in a company called G4 System Limited, which is a company that develop online casino games because I like playing video games. So I guess many of you maybe study computer engineering or computer science because you like gaming. So same as me. At that time, that was the job that most interesting to me because I couldn't find a regular game development job. That's the one that I could find, only one I could find at that time. So two years later, I realized that being a game programmer or game developer in Hong Kong may not be a good career choice because there was not too much gaming company in Hong Kong, and basically all the popular games are developed by big companies. So I decided to quit gaming industry and try to be a programmer in some other company making commercial software. So I joined Xincheng Construction, which is a listed company in Hong Kong. I was a programmer in the IT department, and I got promoted. So when I left, I was the analyst programmer. And then 3 years later, I looked for another job because I like to get a better salary, to be honest. So I joined the Automated System Limited, which is a software vendor. So at that time, I was one of the developer who worked for the project for the HKDSE. I guess all of you know what is DSE, right? Diploma of Secondary Education. So I created system for the first year of the HKDSE to allocate the exam candidate to the exam center. So that's what I was working for in this company. But later on, I joined another company, which is called Practical Visionary, which is a machine learning research company. So basically, I'm a software developer helping the research project, implementing some proof of concept. Some big company hire the guys like me and the Practical Visionary to help them to try to investigate what machine learning can do based on their big data or something like that. And then 1 year later, I joined this company, BT1 Limited, which is a company that run by my wife. So at that time, she needs some pretty technical guys help her to implement, improve, and some internal and external system for the company. So basically, this company is helping the Hong Kong customer to try to ship and buy stuff all over the world, like Japan, the US, Taiwan, mainland China, etc. So they need a quite complex system to automate a lot of stuff. That's why I joined my wife company. But later on, I found a job as a T-contract analyst programmer in one of the department, electrical and mechanical service department in the Hong Kong government. So I'll tell you about what is T-contract later on. And in the year 2019, I got the job offer from Amazon. So Amazon relocated me to Vancouver, and I'm now a software development engineer too in Amazon. And I provided my LinkedIn profile link here. So if you would like to connect to me, you can just send me a message and we can connect. So probably I can send it. I can send it now in the chat so you guys can bookmark it. Okay. So what we'll be covering this talk. First, I would like to give you a high-level idea of what kind of career options you will have if you want to be a programmer or software engineer in Hong Kong. And then I'll share with you my personal experience of finding overseas opportunities. I'll also try to give you some advice about your early stage of career, probably your first 10 years. And I'd like to provide you a chance to connect to other CityU EE department alumni. So if you want to find a mentor, want to talk to someone like it have their own companies or they work for banks or work for the government, you can connect to me. I'll try to set up a collection so that you can kind of find a mentor or ask for advice from them. Yeah, so why I would like to give this talk is a pretty interesting experience. So last year, at the end of last year, I met another guy, also graduated from computer engineering in CityU, who is also working Amazon. And when we share our backgrounds, I find out we experience the same pain point because we know we like programming jobs, but we don't know what kind of jobs we can find in the market. So no one tell us what kind of job options that we could have and what is the pros and cons of different options. That's why I set up this talk and try to share my experience with you. Hopefully that will help you understand better of your future. And also we experience a lot of pain because of the mistakes that we've made. So I'd like to share with you so that you won't make the same mistake again in your early career. So yeah, first, and I think the most important part of this talk is if you want to be a programmer or a software developer, what kind of opportunities that you have if you're in Hong Kong. So there are a couple of options that you have. First, software render. I think most of our alumni went to software render company. That's the most popular option for CityU graduated students. You can go to some big companies that as an in-house development team member. That's also another popular options that many of us go to this kind of company. You can be an in-house IT guy for some small company. So you can work on T-contract. T-contract is a kind of government job that the government will not directly hire you, but they will find some agency company to hire you and then send you to the office. I'll talk about this in details later on, show you what's the pros and cons of a couple of these job options. And then OGCIO is the something like IT department for the Hong Kong government. So I don't remember the full name, but I'll have the full name in a couple of lines later. So you'll see that. But basically, it's pretty similar to T-contract, just more stable. You can work for startup. So I think one thing that I found being a software developer in Hong Kong now is better than 20 years ago is we have more startups, which mean more opportunities and a different working culture compared with some traditional project management style. It's pretty fun. And the last one is the investment bank. I put it here at the last because I don't think many of the CityU graduate students went to investment bank. I'll talk about this more detail later. So first, let's talk about software vendor company. So for software vendor company, for example, PCCW, which is a telecom company, but they also provide some solution like implement software, develop software for some customer. Automated System Limited, which is the one that I was working for when I worked for the KDSD project. So how will it look like when you work for software vendor company? You will have a lot of projects to work on, which means lots of job opportunities. That's why many of us went to this kind of company. You have a chance to work on system that you could use in your daily life, like ordering app of the CAN teachers. One of the graduate from CityU work on this project, and e-channel in the airport. I guess if you have experience of go to travel, then you may use this, right? So this is fun. But the downside of working for software vendor is you will work overtime, especially before the deadline. This is not, this is unavoidable. I never see a software vendor company that people can go home like on time. So I'm going to tell you all you guys the truth of how will it look like if you work as a programmer or a software developer, both in Hong Kong or overseas. Because the customer pay you a lot, pay your company a lot. So basically you need to handle all the requirements from them, even if it's not reasonable, but you need to handle it. Also, the chance of getting promoted and salary increase would be limited. I guess you have to be very, very strong, very outstanding in order to get a promotion or salary increase, because software vendor company, how they earn money is they try to squeeze your salary, make you work overtime, to be honest, to complete the project. Otherwise, they could not earn a lot of money. So because these kind of project like have a limit time period, like for example 6 months or 9 months, you will leave the project and they may send someone else to maintain it. So most of the time, people don't talk about best practices because they know they will leave the team, they will leave the project, not very soon, but within a year. So that's the downside of working for software vendor. And sometimes some company that don't have a, how should I say, a good culture, working culture, is I've heard from some of my friends. So for some consulting company or software vendor, how they really earn money is they send some good engineer to the customer, complete 50% of the project, and they ask the good engineer to leave and join the other project, and then they'll send you some fresh graduate or the guys that don't know your business at all. But the customer are not able to leave the consulting company anymore because they already pay for it after they complete like 50% or 60% of the project. So that's one of the dark side of working for software vendor company. I personally don't enjoy it, but someone does. So I think it's up to you. Depends on what you want. But this kind of company, in my past experience, the software engineer or developer is pretty good. At least they deliver software pretty quick. So sometimes you'll meet some good engineer there and learn from them. But there is a lot of long working hours. Yeah, I'm sure about this. So let's go to the next options. Okay, in-house development team of big company, which is I think is my second job. So I was working for like actually it's not as big as Jockey Club or HSBC, but basically it's the same. It's yeah, for working for big company, you will get a lot of good experience, large scale system development experience, which is pretty important. You learn good system architecture because there will be a lot of integration. Your service or your system will not be a standalone system. You need to integrate with a lot of different services. So you must have a good system architecture, otherwise it will not work. So this is a good chance for you to learn good system architecture. Of course, salary is not bad. They're a big company, right? But the downside is usually you will have some office politics stuff, which make me and some other people try to avoid to work for this kind of company. And communication is hard in this kind of big company. So when you work for a small company, it's pretty easy. The team leader of the next team maybe just sit next to you. But in a big company like this, like HSBC, Jockey Club, there are lots of communication made. One message you want to deliver to effectively, maybe you need a more complicated like approach, workshop, meetings, with meeting notes, etc., etc. So that's pretty hard. Communication in big company is pretty hard because there are so many people in it. Sometimes you even don't know who you should ask for. Okay, I saw some of the graduates from the department in CityU. They joined some small non-technical company as the in-house IT guy. For example, one of my friends joined an advertising company, but basically this kind of company don't have a actual programming job for you. So any pros? I would say not at all. That's the truth. Don't accept the offer of this company unless you couldn't find another job. Otherwise, yeah, it's a waste of time. Why I say that? Because they don't have actual software development project for you. You learn nothing, and also everything that require to like electricity that belongs to you. You have to set up the printers. If a monitor is not working, people will reach out to you. If the if they purchase a new desktop, they ask you to install the Windows. Like a lot of this kind of trivial stuff, but I'll say it's not worth to learn. Nothing you can learn from it, so don't do it. Okay, T contract. What is T contract? It's a flexible developer headcount. Actually, it's not limited to developer, but I mean, this talk is about software engineer. So basically, all the government departments, when they have a project, they need some software developer to implement it for them. They will use this kind of we call it a T contract. So what is this is they will send a job description to the agency company. They have a limited list of agency company. So they'll send the job description to them, and the agency company will start to look for candidate, send to them to do an interview, and then hire them and send them to that government department office and work for the civil servant staff in that department. So yeah, that's what I just mentioned. So you are just a service to the government department. So this one worth mention, T contract, because it's pretty high salary. So it's there is a salary gap between the software vendor programmer and T contract programmer. So you will see that in one of the advice that I'm going to give you in the later slide. The workload is pretty low. It could be. It depends on what kind of project you join and what kind of boss you have. In my case, my previous job is T contract. So I work for a pretty tough project that we get it back from a software vendor company because we thought they're not doing a good job. So we work as in a mode that similar to the software vendor company. We work very long hours. We work very hard to get things done. Fix a lot of bugs that leave by the vendor company. So the workload in my previous job is pretty high, but I can share with you interesting experience when I was working for them. So I know one guy that was T contract and the other team in this department. So he joined the team for 3 years at that time. He sit next to the water machine. So every time when I go to get some water, I saw him is always sleeping because there is nothing for him to do. So I talked to him later and I found out his job responsibility is to update the content through a content management system. You may not know what is that. So content management system is a system that designed for non-technical person to publish some kind of news or update the website. Basically, it will provide what you see is what you get editors. So updating the content in this kind of system is just like you editing the content in Microsoft Word or making a PowerPoint. So it does not require technical knowledge at all. But he was there for 3 years and just doing this kind of job. So this is one of the possible workload that you'll see. And actually, from what I've heard, quite a lot of T contract job is working like this, but it completely depends on which team you join and who is your manager. So yeah, be careful. Also, there is a lot of job opportunities across all the government departments. So I saw someone working as a T contract developer for more than 10 years. So because this is a flexible headcount, so you will not able to get another contract after your contract period end. But it is not a problem for a T contract developer because you are always able to find other opportunities in other government departments. So You don't need to worry about like, can you find another job opportunities after the contract end? Basically, I don't see people worry about that when they become a T contract. But there are downside of working for this kind of T contract as a T contract staff. Most likely you use a legacy technology, so you're not going to use the cutting edge technology. You're not going to learn new stuff because they usually worry about applying new technology or new stuff will bring some risk into the project. So this is the downside of working as a T contract developer. If you are the one that who always want to use the cutting edge technology, learn to use the latest tool, maybe this is not your options. And you lost your competitive edge, which means you may lose your skill, your technical skill may be outdated. So just like the example I shared with you earlier, like the guy that sit there for 3 years and always sleep. Basically, he could find a job outside government T contract, but he could not find a job with a good salary. He need to accept a salary job if he really want to leave. So that's one of the biggest downside of working for T contract. And also sometimes your boss or other people in the department may not respect you. That's the truth. That's what I've seen in the past. I'm lucky that my boss at that time in my previous job, he gave me a lot of respect and trust me a lot. So I have a lot of flexibility to suggest or work on the stuff that I think is important, but that's usually not the case. So yeah, be prepared if you find a T contract job. This could happen. And also that's there is a racism, I would say, for the developer outside government, that they think people work for the government is always not a good software engineer, not a good developer. They are always lazy. That's the truth. I've heard someone say that. And also before I joined this T contract, before I work for T contract, I also think that people work for the government may not be a good software engineer or good developer. So you will be a little bit difficult to find a job outside government if you really don't want to work for the government departments anymore. So, but for T contracts, someone may like it because if you want high salary and probably low workload and more leisure time, personal times to work on your personal stuff, maybe side project, probably this is a good choice for you. So, okay, OGCIO, we pronounce it as OGIO, which means Office of Government Chief Information Officer. It's basically the concept of the IT department for the whole Hong Kong government. This is the only civil servant job for software developer in Hong Kong. So obviously the post is very stable. Basically, you will not get fired unless in some very extreme case. Could be low workload. I think it's pretty similar to T contract. It depends on which team you join and who is your boss. Probably you will join some team that have high workload, but most likely the workload will not be very high. High salary. I don't have the number right now, but basically you can find it because you can find it online because it's a civil servant, so it's always high salary. but it's hard to get a promotion because they are very difficult to open a new position. So if you want a promotion, you can just you can only wait for someone left or promoted or retired. Otherwise, you sit there and wait. Probably for a long time, but probably for a short time. It completely depends on the movement of the other people. Also, you may use legacy technology. I think it's pretty similar to T contract. And also difficult to find a job outside the government. This is just the same as T contract. People don't trust you. I mean, the company outside the government, they may not trust you. They may not give you an interview opportunity. So that's the downside. Okay, so startup is fun. So like we have Lala Move, WeLab also startup. Maybe they are too mature. MyLayer Limited is the one that found by some EE department alumni as well. So usually they have a flat management structure, which means they highly respect the software developer because you are developing the software to earn money, like you're competing with your competitor. So they need you. That's why they need to treat you better. And they are also willing to use new technology and apply the software engineering best practices because usually they treat their software as product, which is completely different mindset when you treat the software as project. So when you work for a software vendor, they treat the software development process as finishing a project. So they may not be interested in all the best practices. But for startups, because they earn money through your software, so they need to consider what's the operational burden that they'll have after the project launch, and also the long-term maintenance costs. So that's why they will consider the best practices. They will apply that. So the downside of it is maybe it's less stable. So I think maybe Lala Move and WeLab is not a good example because they are pretty mature now. But for some new startup, they may not be stable. So they may have a big layoff during the economic situation getting worse, like currently. Also, in the early stage of startup company, everyone in the company will own multiple roles. Like for example, from what I've heard in the MyLayer Limited, basically everyone engineers and sales. So they need to talk to customer directly as a sales, and they also need to implement software or improve it or fix bug. So you will have to take a lot of roles in the early stage of this kind of startup. But at the same time, you learn a lot, like you know the full picture of a product or for that particular industry. Oh, by the way, the MyLayer Limited is a machine learning company that provides chatbot service to quite a lot of customers now in Hong Kong. So I think it's a pretty interesting company. And then the last one is the investment bank. So in my understanding, being a software developer, the highest salary that you can get are always the job in investment bank. So I haven't worked for it directly, but I heard from the other people about the salary of investment bank. Usually is much higher than the salary of the same level of job in other company like software vendor. So I remember like 3 years ago or almost 4 years ago, people tell me that experience, like if I have like over 10 years of development experience, I could get like $70,000 per month as a software developer in an investment bank. But that's the number 3 or 4 years ago. So probably now is a little bit higher, maybe 80,000. So yeah, that's attract a lot of good students graduate from the university to join. So as I said, they provide high salaries to the people, and you're able to work for basically the smartest people in Hong Kong. But the downside is if they have a budget cut, they'll lay off you, then you are just a number to them. So no empathy. Yeah, it's a downside of working for an investment bank. But one interesting fact that I observed in the past like 15 years when I was working in Hong Kong is I seldom see people graduated from Hong Kong U or CityU, Chinese U, in my previous jobs. So later on, I find out it's because most of them join investment bank right after graduate. So the fact that I observe is not many of us graduate from City University were able to get into the investment bank. I think the interview process is quite different when compared with the other companies in Hong Kong. So they are pretty similar to the overseas company, like the Amazon, Facebook, or something like that. So it's a little bit difficult. But I'll tell you about the big tech company, a little bit about how they interview people in, I think, next couple of slides. So you'll get a feeling of how should you prepare the interview if you really want to apply for a job for the big tech company. Yeah, I put investment bank in the last because I don't see almost no one I know is working for investment bank. But as I know, this is the best paid job as a software developer in Hong Kong. So how about the overseas opportunity? You may not know what is FAANG, but the student in North America must know that. It stands for Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. So basically, these are the best company that software engineer would like to work for. They pay the best. They have the best talent, best software engineer. So people now add Microsoft to it, and Facebook changed the name to Meta. So it's MAA and MG, but it's not a work anymore. Of course, joining this kind of company has a lot of good advantage. Like you are able to use the cutting edge technology. You will get the experience of the largest scale software development in the world. So you're able to work with the best software engineer all over the world. You learn a lot from them. And you learn a lot best practices for software engineer. And even you leave the company, your CV will be shine if you have the experience because you already entered the talent pool of the best software engineer in the world. But the downside is they will have very high expectation on you. So someone will find is the stress are very high when working for this kind of company. Yeah, that's the only downside that I can think of. But I still recommend everyone to try because you'll learn a lot. You will able to find a better job, even you leave this kind of big tech company, because people will think that you must be a very good software engineer if you are able to enter this company. And how to apply for a job in this company? So couple of ways. Basically, you can apply directly through the company website. To be honest, as a fresh graduate, they care about your academic result. So if you don't have a good academic result in school, in university, maybe you don't have a chance to get an interview. But it doesn't matter after you've worked as a software developer like 3 years, they don't care about your academic result anymore. So what matter I'll talk about later. You can get a job in a hiring event in Hong Kong like me, but it no longer exists now because there are lots of layoffs in the big tech company. 10,000s, over 10,000s of people, or actually 30,000s maybe, lay off from this company. So they have a hiring freeze. They don't host a hiring event in Hong Kong anymore. But before that, as I know, basically you have like 2 to 3 years. Every 2 to 3 years, there will be a hiring event in Hong Kong for Amazon. So the recommended way to get a job there is go to get a master's degree in US or Canada, because you will get a much higher chance. You will have a much higher chance to get an interview in this company if you are a student in university in US or Canada. That's true. So being there is a big advantage. If you are not there, probably you will need to be a very, very good software engineer, and then they will find you. But that's pretty difficult now because of all the hiring freeze in the big companies. So how to increase the chance of getting a job in this kind of tech giants? So one thing that you could do is contribute to the open source project. So open source project is the second CV for software engineer. If you're active member for some open source project, which is pretty famous, it will give you a very big score when they scan your CV. So this is something that you could try to do and pay someone for editing your CV. That's what I've done. Like how to write your CV. I'll provide some advice later, but there are some professional guy that their professional is to write CV. So paying them is not that much, honestly. But the return is pretty good. Like your CV will be able to get through the scanner of the HR department in big company, and you'll get a high chance to get a job. So applying for jobs, software developer jobs in North America or in Europe, basically you will spend a lot of time to prepare the coding tests. So the coding test of this kind of company is they will try to ask you some data structure and algorithm questions, and you will need to solve it within a certain time period, for example, 30 minutes. And you need to get through a couple of rounds of this kind of coding tests in order to get a job offer. So one book that I recommend to everyone is the Cracking the Coding Interviews. It's a Bible for preparing the coding test for getting into these tech giants. And also there's a website called LeetCode, which is providing a lot of coding test questions that you can practice on. They provide compilers, they provide testing tool. So it's pretty convenient using the LeetCode to prepare the coding test for applying jobs is a very common practice for everyone in North America. Every computer related graduates, they usually spend they usually resolve like hundreds of questions in LeetCode.com before they actually do the interview. So for me, I finished 100 questions on the LeetCode, but from what I've heard from my coworkers, basically everyone finished like 200 or 300 questions on it. So for myself, I spent a whole month for preparing the interview. So if you want to get a job in a company like Google, Facebook, or Amazon, you will have to spend a month to prepare for it. So that's the amount of time that I recommend you to spend on. Don't prepare it just 1 week before the interview. It will not work unless you are a genius. And the last recommendation is try multiple times. So many of us didn't get a job offer at the first try. So it's completely fine. For me, I tried 4 times. I got the Amazon job offer on the 4th interviews. So it's completely fine. If you really want to learn from the best software engineer in the world, you want to be one of the best, you should try multiple times. Okay, so the other things that I try is in the LinkedIn, you can set up job alerts based on job locations. And you can divide your search keyword. Besides software engineer, you can add keywords like relocation. So it means the company will sponsor you to move to their office in another country or another city. So I was able to find 2 interview opportunities and use this approach. One is excuse me. I was interviewed by the Hulu in Beijing. Hulu was the top 3 video streaming company in the North America, besides the Netflix and what's that? The other one, Prime Video. I don't remember probably, but yeah, they have a development office in Beijing. Also, I was able to get an on-site interview chance for Booking.com in Shanghai. They also pay me for the flight tickets and the hotel and asked me to go to Shanghai and do an interview. So you can use this way to find out the jobs that can sponsor you to go to have an on-site interview and also relocate you from Hong Kong. Okay, so some other overseas opportunities that you could look into, it's for Japan, it's pretty, I'm not the expert. I also try to find a job in Japan, like Line, which is the messaging app in Japan. I also tried the interview. But there are so many blog posts and information about how to find a job in Japan, so I won't repeat it here. Basically, you can search by this keyword on Google to find the interview, how the interview experience are. And the easiest way is to go to the Japanese language school. If you're a student there, the chance of you getting a job there is much higher than you are not there. Okay, I think we don't have much time, so let me move quickly. Taiwan, it depends on how their hiring plan. Sometimes they will hire people from Hong Kong through agency. I also see their job ad in the Jobs DB. Big company in the mainland China basically just apply through the company website. It's just the same as the big company in the North America. Macau, there are also some company hire people from Hong Kong because they don't have enough workforce. Everyone work for casino. But if you're able to find a job, most likely it's a casino related job. Okay. So let me see how many slides do I have. Okay. I suggest like this. So because I finished the most important part of the talk, so if you guys have any questions, probably you can ask either in the chat or you ask verbally. It's fine to me. Do you have any questions about the job opportunities in Hong Kong or anything unclear? Okay, that's an interesting question. How can you get an internship? Um, every years for the big tech company like Amazon, they will open for university students to apply for internship. I think basically you start in March or something like that. So if you go to the job searching website, you will see the information. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, but I don't have much information about the internship because I also work for internship for summer, but I get it through the department. So I think it should be remain the same, right? You have a co-op center and you're able to find an internship through them. Is it worth studying master in Hong Kong U or CU? I I would say it depends on what job you are going to work for. Basically, I don't recommend people to study master if you don't have a very clear idea how this will help you. So for many company, they don't look at the number of certificate that you have unless you work for the consulting company. Consulting company do care about how many certificate you have because they can show to their customer, right? How many employees that in our company have a lot of have a master degree or PhD. So yeah, that's an exception. But unless you know how the certificate will help you, otherwise, I won't recommend you to study. Is it difficult to receive working visa and work in Singapore? I would say it's not very difficult, but under current economic situation, maybe it's a little bit difficult. I heard some of my friend got the job offer in Singapore and they sponsor the relocation from Hong Kong to Singapore. But yeah, I think if you have, let's be more specific, if you have a good track record of your past experience, you show you're a good software engineer in your CV, then it's not that difficult to get a job offer in Singapore. And if you are able to get the job offer, you will able to receive the working visa. It's just simple. So it's all about getting a job. The visa is not I don't think it's a problem after you find a job. Will the slides be uploaded? Yeah, probably. I'm not sure what's the plan. Maybe I'll ask Hugo from the department, but yeah, I can find a way if you want a slide. Okay, certificate from AWS, GCP, Cisco, this large tech company useful for job. No. I honestly don't think there's a certificate that will help. That's actually one of the advice that I'm going to provide to you. In a past experience, I think if you have certificate, people may question you if you know why you study, why you get a certificate, because this is a very interesting. I mean, software development is a very interesting industry that everyone do it in their own way. It's pretty common that people, for example, using Java don't know what people using C# is talking about, or people who work for SAP don't know what people work for gaming industry is talking about. So basically every company or every community that, for example, Java community, Python community, they are talking in different language. It's a pretty fun observation that I have in the past 15 years. But I think one exception for the certificate is if you're working for a consultant company, some of them may useful, like maybe the AWS or GCP. For Cisco, I don't think the basic level certificate is useful unless you get the highest one. The one that most difficult to get is the CCIE, I remember. This is about the security of networking. So for that one, that would be useful. But all the other levels certificate in Cisco, I don't think it will be pretty useful unless you are a networking engineer. I mean, if you work on networking, set up infrastructure, probably that some of them will be useful. But yeah, I don't think the basic level will help. Necessary to study Python? No, only study things when you need to, when you have to. There are so many things that you could study in software development. I don't think you can study everything unless you see a like job ad that they need someone who are expert in Python. Probably you should spend time on preparing that. But I don't think studying any programming language before finding a job is useful. What career path would you suggest to secure a job in the gaming industry? Well, I left the gaming industry for a very long time. I would say there's still some career chance for game development. One of my coworker when I was in the first job is he is now the, I think it's the CTO, Chief Technical Officer, or architecture of a gaming company called VR Sandbox, which is people grab a gun and put on their VR device and then shooting on zombies or enemies, something like that. So he's pretty successful now. Even the boss of Tesla had played his game because they now have a lot of different places to play the game all over the world, in mainland China, Korea, US, Canada, of course, Hong Kong. So the whole development team is in Hong Kong. So it's a pretty good chance, I would say, if you want to work for games. But I don't see there are lots of job opportunities as a game programmer in Hong Kong. So maybe if you really want to be a game developer, you have two options. One, go to the US. The other one is go to Japan. Japan have quite a lot of opportunities for game development. Oh, agency website where I can get my CV reviewed. I remember monster.com provide this service. I use their service as well. Other than that, sometimes you'll find someone maybe in the Facebook or I don't know. I saw that advertisement in Facebook about editing your CV, but for me, I personally use monster.com. They have a service to help you find someone to help you to update your CV. But I don't know if they still do it or not. I used it 4 years ago. Okay. How about if we follow the study plan of this certificate? Well, again, from my experience, I would say there are too much things you could learn. The information on the internet are now overwhelming. You basically can learn all the programming language, all the hot topics like machine learning, AI, data science, security online. So I don't recommend people to learn before they know they need to apply this technology. Unless you know the company will hire you because of the certificate. Otherwise, I would say it's not useful at all. For me, like I try to learn high concurrency, low latency programming in Java, but I basically forgot everything because I don't use it at work. I don't use it anywhere. That apply to the like stock. If you work for Hong Kong Stock Exchange or the Jockey Club, maybe you need to use those technology or some. If you are writing some very low level software like the operating system or the relational database, you may need that knowledge. But I personally, in my personal experience, I don't recommend people to study in advance. Only when you know you need it at work, then you should work. What language does investment bank sector use? Basically, it's Java. Java and Oracle database are the two, what should I say, standard combination that they will use. All the big projects in Hong Kong in bank basically are Java. All the big company use Oracle database. So usually the medium and small size company may use like .NET framework. They will use C# or VB.NET because it's the cost may be a little bit lower. The learning curve will not be that deep. But if you want to get into the big company, Java is the pretty standard language that they are going to use, and also the Oracle database. Okay. Any questions? Any further questions? Oh, let me talk about this. I know we are over time, but these are very important. I think many of you will have these 3 questions, so I'm going to quickly go through it. How often should I change the job? As a junior software engineer, you can change your job every 1 to 2 years because you get a lot of salary increase of changing a job. After you stay in a job for 1 or 2 years, basically you learn everything. Unless you join the big tech company, so it's completely different. So my experience is when I was in Hong Kong, basically I can be very productive 2 weeks after I join. But when I start working for Amazon, I'm still learning a lot of stuff and basically not productive at all in the first 3 months because the system complexity is completely different. So in Hong Kong, I recommend that junior software engineer, you can change your job every 1 to 2 years because of the salary increase by changing the job. But if you start to become a senior software engineer or we call system analyst, that is a team leader role. Don't change the job very often. Like 3 to 5 years is my recommendation. Stay in the same job, get the experience of a development project from end to end, like from the start, from the beginning, gathering the requirement, design, implement it, test it, and deliver to the customer and operate it after the project launch. It's a pretty important experience that you should get. So probably the first 10 years you can change job quite often, but later on, you should be very careful because people expect you to be a team leader now. So what should be included in my CV? So if you connect to my LinkedIn profile, you will see how I write out my CV. So you need to provide your achievement instead of job responsibility. This is a very common problem that I've seen in the past. People always talk about the jobs responsibility. Like I write the Java program for blah blah blah. I maintain the solid procedure in the Oracle database. That's everyone write the same. That's not something that could help you stand out from other candidates. So what help you stand out from other candidates is you mentioned about your achievement, like your and the achievement must come with numbers. Like you work for on a project that reduce like X amount of work, X% amount of work every week for your customer. So for myself, I put something like I created a Chrome plugin to help one of the staff in my wife company to reduce the 3 hours work every day to 30 minutes. So that's something the HR department like. They like to see the numbers and what is your achievement, what make you stand out from other candidates. So make sure maybe you don't have it in your first CV, but later on when you change your job, make sure you include your achievement in the job, but don't lie. They will dive deep and ask you for more details. If you lie, then they'll find it out. So make sure you achieve something in your first couple of jobs, or you should always try to do that. Okay, and this is one of the recommendations that I would like to give you all is keep connect to your classmates because you are able to get the salary information and also you'll know a lot about the company culture before you join that company. That's very useful for me and my classmates the time when I graduate because I think in Hong Kong, the salary information is not that transparent. In North America or in Europe, there are lots of websites that could show you what's the salary of a particular company. But in Hong Kong, that's not the truth. So you need the connection to know roughly what's the salary range. And also the most important part is you know, is there a trap in that company if you join that? So you know, if you have connection, you know about the company culture and you avoid joining the wrong company. Okay. Yeah, I think basically that's everything of my talk. Sorry, I won't able to go over all the slide, but I'll try to find a way to share it with all you guys. And please connect me on the LinkedIn. If you want to like be me, you can talk to me. If you want to work for the big tech company, you can talk to me. But if you don't want to, if you want to work for a bank in Hong Kong, or if you want to run your own startup, run your own company, I also could try to find some of my friends who could talk to you, share their experience with you. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please create one and you can send me a message, connect with me. If you graduate from CityU University, I will definitely accept your invitation. So, yeah, thank you. That's all for my talks today. So, does anyone has any further questions? No? We have 22 participants meeting. Yeah, is it useful or if you want to ask in Cantonese or Mandarin, I'm also fine if you want to just ask me. Okay, I get this a no. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hugo and Edison and Dr. Sen for helping me to host this meeting. Oh, we have new questions. Job market like for machine learning in Hong Kong. Okay, honestly, I don't know much about machine learning job opportunity, but I think the most widely adopted machine learning application in Hong Kong is chatbot. So the one company that I mentioned about, MyLayer, is one of them, like providing chatbot service to many big companies in Hong Kong. But other than that, I am not sure how much application you can find in Hong Kong for machine learning. I did join a machine learning research project, if you remember, in my self-introduction. Actually, it's not a very good experience because research project, the funding from the customer can stop it suddenly. And I lost the job like just half year after I joined that research company. But the good thing is, if you work for a research company, the working stress is usually not that high because it's not guaranteed to have a real product, right? It's a research, but it also means that the funding will be cut probably suddenly, and you may lose the job if you work for a machine learning research project. So that's everything I know related to machine learning. But besides me, I think you can also ask some of the alumni that graduate maybe a few years before, maybe in Hong Kong, they may know better about how the job market like for machine learning jobs in Hong Kong. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, if no, then I guess that's all for the talks today. Thank you, everyone. Again, thanks Hugo, Allison, and Dr. Sen for helping us to host a meeting like this. I also saw Shelly in the call as well. Yeah, thanks.